Okay, so until sort of 20 past, 25 past, 10 or 12 minutes. Okay, so let's just get the stick just on the back of the neck. So just a few twists. Remember, just start off really small and just let it slowly build up. So just try and feel the muscles that are working to do it rather than the part that's moving. So the mind is in the lower back and the belly rather than the hands. Then just a few tipping side to side. And again, just start slowly and just feel again the muscles that are stretching and then the muscle that's contracting. So if there's a muscle one side that's contracting, then there'll be a muscle the other side that's stretching. You just want to feel them both working together. Okay, then just a few just tipping forwards, just letting the spine bend. And then again, just feel the muscles that have stretched in your back and just tighten them up. And then just letting yourself tip backwards, feeling the muscles in the belly that are having to hold to stop you from banging your head into the floor behind you. And then just tighten those muscles in the belly. Tipping forwards, feel the muscles in the back holding you, stretching, and then tighten them to move you. Back. And forwards, back. and forwards. So just once you're in position, just rest there and just relax into it. And just, so having stopped and produced stillness, you then just relax and just try and feel the movement within that stillness. So there's a sense that gravity is pulling your head backwards and the muscles in your belly are just having to work constantly to stop that from manifesting. And then just let those muscles work a bit harder in the belly. And then tip forward. So again, your head is falling forward. So you reach a stop, seems to be still, and then you just relax into it and just feel the head flowing down to the ground and feel the muscles in your lower back constantly tightening, like renewing their tightening all the time to balance the flow downwards. So again, just trying not to produce holding forces for any length of time. As soon as we have reached stillness, we then relax back into movement, but it's a stationary movement. So it's an equilibrium. So one more, just back. So just feel your head as though it's flowing backwards. You're creating a flow. So if you close your eyes, it feels like you're moving very slowly back. And the muscles in the belly are then having to produce a very slow movement forwards. And then just tighten the muscles in the belly more. And tip forward. So if you really get to that edge, of that equilibrium edge, then you'll start shaking a little bit. That's where we want to get to. So this is more difficult to get to the shaking because the muscles in the lower back are stronger, so they would take more work to get to that place of shaking. But you can do it. So just feel your head just flowing forwards, almost like it's dripping down to the ground. And then feel the muscles in the lower back just relaxing to that point of equilibrium. And just feel the vibration in the equilibrium. That's very nourishing. And then just tighten those muscles in the back. And just reach the top. Okay, now just bringing the hands, let's just try a few. Pushing up and pulling down. So here, just using the muscles in the lower back to push the stick upwards. And then just imagine the stick is stuck up there and you have to pull it down. So we want to kick in the muscles in the belly. The muscles in the belly start tightening and that pulls the stick down. So we just want it all to start in the belly and the back. So my back starts arching. So what that will do is project your energy. It's like you intend, yeah? So your mind kicks into those muscles and intends the energy upwards, and the stick slowly starts following it, but it's all being generated from the lower back. And now here you have to pull it down. So just, I tighten the belly, and then eventually the stick starts moving. And then one more. So back. And belly. And then just holding the stick at the ends. And then just bringing it up and behind if you can. Yeah. That's it. So just the shoulders just open. Just try and make the movement slow. So it's like you're watching every millimeter of movement. So the enemy, really, our enemy, you know, we are our own worst enemy. The mind is your own worst enemy, but it's your consciousness, really, or the way you use your consciousness. We're too fierce with our consciousness. So we want to just sort of watch it and try our very best not to interfere. Yeah, so our conscious mind will always try and interfere because of the way we've been educated at school, largely. There's that lovely T-shirt slogan, you know, I was born intelligent, but education made me stupid. And it's very true. So if you look at primitive peoples, you know, when they're teaching the children something, it can be a really complex task. They're very gentle about it. You know, there's no sit still and listen or getting punished if you don't succeed. And so there's no anxiety associated with the use of the consciousness, and consequently there's no negative consciousness, there's no resentment that gets built up, which there tends to be in children nowadays. Ooh, so up. So what psychologists have found is that if you can learn something naturally, unaware of the learning process and not conscious that you're learning something, you'll learn it much better. And actually being conscious of it actually really inhibits the learning process. So consciousness only really becomes useful when you need to communicate what it is that you know, when you need to put what you know into words. Oh. And then just down, let's just put the stick back down. It doesn't really matter where, we'll just do a few of the heart qigong just to finish this sequence off. Yeah, so you want to become aware of the emotional profile of everything that we do. So how does it feel? How does it make you feel? Yeah, so you're reaching out, you're imploring, and then you bring it in. So as the hands come together opposite the heart, there's almost a sense of tearfulness, yeah, which is why Christians pray like this, yeah. It's meaningful, you're sincere, yeah. And then here it's like real optimism as the geyser shoots up. And then just coming home, coming back to rest, having gone through an experience, yeah? Okay, so one more. So reaching out, you're really beckoning something in, and then you join it as it comes in, and you sympathize, you feel its pain, and then together you both shoot up, and then you just come back to rest. So the meaning is in the emotion, really, is in the feeling. The meaning is in the feeling, not in the words that you can attach to the experience. Yeah. Okay, so let's get up. Whoa. I always get a bit of vertigo when I stand up for meditating. The ground just seems so far away. In my family, we suffer from vertigo. You don't have to be very high. Okay, so let's just try, let's sort of get into the figures of 8 a little bit. So what we want to do is get out of mindlessness. So we want to be mindful, but in a gentle way. So not necessarily being really sort of anxious about what we're doing. So more like you're trying to keep this relatively still, and you're just turning side to side and just oozing, you're squeezing something around that foot and then something around this foot. So it's like you come into the heel, round the outside edge, then the big toe presses into the ground. And it's like the big toe is squeezing towards this heel to continue the figure of 8. So as you go round the outside edge, really feel the foot opening. And then as you come into the big toe, it's like you're trying to do that. You're trying to do like a pincer with your big toe in your heel. And that squeezes the energy across into the other foot. And just relax into it. We need to keep the mind on the job, but sort of soften it. Because what we want is to just become aware of the energy that's leading the movement. Yeah, there's something as I'm going around this foot, there's already something happening in the other foot. This is the magic of the figure of 8. Yeah, so your body is with one foot, but your energy is with the other, because the energy is leading, and you can get it so that they're sort of out of phase. So as I'm coming around this foot like this, there's already something happening here. So you can see it most clearly in a kick. You know, in a kick, obviously you have to have the body in one foot, but the other foot is the one where the energy and the activity is, the one that's kicking. So this is like the foot that's getting ready to support me to kick. And then this is where the energy is already manifesting for it to come off the ground and kick. So we just want to feel that. So our consciousness, if you like, it is very much depends on how you conceptualize your world. So if you think of yourself as just being one thing, I've got a body. So if you don't entertain the possibility of the body and the energy not being together, then you won't feel it. Yeah. It's only really when you stop concentrating and almost go into like a reverie, you almost sort of allow the mind to just wander. And then when you come back, you realize something different is happening. Something has been able to creep in that you had been blocking with your incorrect conceptualization of your world. So Einstein used to say that he had all his great insights. This is the thing about science, what I understood, when I was a scientist, You know, when you read scientific books or scientific papers, you get a very rational train of argument. And so it appears that that result, which the scientist has discovered, came about through this train of argument, but it didn't at all. It just came to him in a flash. And then he has to, the difficult thing is not having the insight. The difficult thing is then communicating it to others. Yeah. And so Einstein said all his great insights had came to him whilst he was shaving. And he was always terrified that he was going to cut his own throat in one of these sort of sudden bursts of insight. But then he had to find the mathematics that could explain it. And that's the difficult bit. Yeah, so you're so immersed in what you're doing that you lose yourself, you lose self in what you're doing. And then insights will abound. Insights will come tumbling out. Yeah, so when I was at school, you know, I was studying. My favorite thing has always been poetry from as early as I can remember. And so in the English lessons on the Friday before the weekend, the teacher would, just for a couple of months or so, he would hand out just one sheet of paper, and on it there would be a famous poem. And we would have to go home and then come back with a little essay on what that poem means. And when he handed it out, I would just quickly read through it, and I'd suddenly get into a panic because I wouldn't understand anything. As Ty would say, when I read poetry to Ty, she just says, "Dad, it's just random words." And but then I'd get home and I'd read it through again, and then later that night I'd read it through again, and gradually over the course of the weekend, meaning would come creeping out. And so I'd end up writing an essay, and I'd know pretty much what the poem meant, yeah, what he was on about. And I'd always get top marks, of course, because I think I was the only one that actually bothered to do the homework. But what I found is that once I'd analysed that poem like that with my conscious mind, I killed it. I never wanted to read that poem again. It was dead for me. Yeah. And so I just realised that wasn't the right way to use your mind. Yeah. It's much better to just read the thing and just let it shake you up. You don't need meaning. You just need to be moved. Yeah? And it's the same with these things. We just get into them and just let them shake us up a little bit. Especially the figure of 8, because it's just so special. So I'm sending the body here, but what's happening here? Something really interesting is happening in the other foot. Yeah. There's a dark side. There's a sinister side. There's a left side to everything. Yeah. There's even a left side to the left side. Ooh. Ooh. So just feel the place in the middle where the two lines would cross over. It's like the node within the figure of 8. Yeah. So there's something special about that point. I don't know what it is. So just feel the figure of 8, feel its continuity. There'll always be parts of it that are almost sort of incomplete. It's like you aren't mature enough. You don't have that emotional maturity to go there fully, especially around here. Yeah? So we're normally very good at what's in front of us, but we do have these sort of blind spots. And that's where we need to sort of really dwell, linger. Ooh. And so space is curved, even at this small scale. You don't need to go into the cosmos to learn that. So I'm going out, but it just naturally returns because of the limits of my body. Yeah. There is no infinite, everything is bounded. Okay, now let's just register how it's changed the way you feel your own body, but also how you feel the space that you're in. So the space that we're in tends to be organized around flat surfaces and straight lines, normally orthogonal straight lines, so lines at right angles. So what we want to do is get into our curviness, yeah? And it's never really circular because we'd have to walk around in a circle. So it's always this returning circle, this figure of 8. So we just want to feel that. So that's how I am organized, but it's also how my presence organizes the space that I'm in. It's almost like I'm pushing those straight lines and those flat surfaces away and just making them curvy and sexy. Okay, now let's just try the figure of 8 again, but now within bow and arrow posture. So now just going around the front foot and then around the back foot without moving. So I don't want to be doing this. Yeah, there is movement, of course, but it's like I'm sort of just squeezing something around the foot. So on average, I'm actually facing front, but I'm slipping this side and then this side. Yeah, so your conscious mind sets up the exercise, but then the exercise is so simple, you don't need the conscious mind to stay with it, because the conscious mind will always inhibit energy. And so we get the thing started, and then we just relax the mind, relax into the space that you're defining, really, so that energy can start to manifest. Okay, and then let's try the other way. Yeah, so you're not so much going backwards and forwards as just tracing this figure of 8. And I want to feel it as though I've just released something in my sacroiliac, and that's allowed the figure of 8 to flow out of me. So it's as though my weight pretty much stays in the middle. And it's like a flow that's moving around. Ooh. So it's easier to feel the flow in the back leg, really. So here, ooh. And then here I have to be careful that I don't use the back leg to push myself forwards, because I want it to be the flow that's coming out here that draws me forwards. Yeah, so if you use the leg to push, you'll tend to smash the flows. The flows will get all crushed up and they won't flow. Ooh. So it's a really subtle business, the use of the mind. And despite what we think, the consciousness is even more coarse than our stupidity, really, than our sort of just lack of awareness. That both of them are enemies, yeah. To lack awareness, to be stupid, is obviously an enemy, yeah. But then to be aware in the wrong way, to be aware in such a way that you are inclined to manipulate or comment upon, to judge and criticize and measure and all that shit. Ooh. So I just want to watch it in amazement, in a state of grace and with a sense of wonder. So that defines the mind that we would like to cultivate. in a state of grace and with this endless sense of wonder. Yeah, so when you see people being sort of clumsy and, you know, physically inept, you know, it's largely just their mind. What you're seeing is their mind operating through their body. Because the body is actually incredibly capable and very fine and much richer than the mind will ever be. Whoa. Okay, so let's bring it just back to riding horse. Okay, and now let's just try just stepping to the side. Yeah, so I come into one foot so I can loosen the other foot. Yeah. So what I want to do there is just feel myself cutting into that outside edge. Because again, what I want is this circular action, because so it's the sinking down into this outside edge that then spoons under the ground and scoops up here that brings up this foot. Yeah, so it's my sinking, returning on itself that brings up the other foot. So I sink here and that brings up this foot. And again, I just want to feel that as an equilibrium. This circuit is endless. It's going around and around and around. Yeah. And you'll ruin it if you fall onto the inside edge of the foot, which often happens. But that's what we're trying to stop happening. So I'm in the outside edge. I really have to push down with my big toe, and because that will stop me from coming onto the inside. I push down with the big toe, and I'm bringing this foot up with the same energy that was going down. It's just returning. Yeah. So down, comes up, and then just step out. Now this is where you'll tend to come onto the weight of the leg going out will tend to pull you onto this inside of the foot. And so you have to really go more that way, if you like. So if you think about it, here I have equilibrium. So if I want the leg to go out here, then my center of gravity is subtly moving across here this way, and that will knock me off balance. So if I send the foot out, I have to move in this direction to balance the weight of the leg. Yeah. So I'm cutting down here. And then, I've got to move out here with my mind and my body. And then I can keep balance. And then here, how do I get into this foot? It's that outside edge that's trying to do this. It's hooking the ground in order to draw me across. And then once I'm in that outside edge, this foot can come up again now the circuit is reversed. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going. So this is how you need to step in the form, basically. So the foot comes up, but it comes up because I've got this circuit going, not because I've made myself solid and yanked this leg up with these muscles. So I need this sense that something is continuing. I haven't frozen. There's a circuit that's going on endlessly. And I send this foot out, but I have to be really aware of my balancing movement in this direction. And then I put the foot down and the toes and the outside edge grab the ground, come under, and that takes this foot off the ground. And then I can bring it in and down. Yeah. So 1, out, or feel yourself just moving in that direction. And then so it's really difficult, you know. So I've come onto the inside edge, so just need to get back. So you just want to just feel, you know, what is it in the mind? When I start getting it wrong, what's happened? Yeah. Something in me has weakened. Something in me has lost faith, as John would say. I've lost faith in the figure of 8. In the energy, in the flow of energy, and try to just control things instead. Yeah. So that's what we just want to get out of. So, you know, just want to feel the mind moving there as the leg moves there. That's really interesting. So down and and then there's like a sudden tweak. When the foot goes down, and suddenly you could just leap over here with your spirit. And so spirit's wonderful because it just really does just leap around. It's got infinite speed. It doesn't need to travel a distance. It can just be in same place, different places instantaneously. Yeah. Okay, so again, so just down, up with the leg, out. Ooh, see, then I wasn't aware of this, so I fell into the foot. So it's just really important. If you lose one of the components, then it'll break. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's not as though you fall to your death, unfortunately. Maybe if you were to, we'd get it a bit more right. So, and then here, I've got to really feel this movement over here. And then, okay, so let's just, so back to riding horse. And now just feeling the cave, the shape that we adopt in Tai Chi. So it's just the opposite of average, really. Basically, you know, you could quite easily just progress by just watching what happens averagely and then trying to do the opposite of it. So most people live in a world of their own construction. Yeah? So a world that they are comfortable with and that they are familiar with. Yeah? And so that gives them a sense of almost like smug self-satisfaction. And you can see it in the way that they move. You know, they're careless, they spill out. They're just walking like this, like they're sort of just pushing everything aside in order to make space for them. Yeah. So we're the opposite of that. We're actually using the front not to spill out, but to draw in. And we're spilling out of the back. And it's our roundness that brings that around. So we just have this circuit. So again, it's just the figure of 8. You know, we've just got these two. This is what ward off is. Ward off is just bringing my back around to the front, yeah, by drawing in. the front, yeah? So that's what we want to just be aware of all the time. So when we come back to Tai Chi, come back to the work, that's the first thing, is just coming back inside. So that sense of just withdrawing from your world, yeah, that just produces this flow inwards, yeah, because if you're connected to things, then you'll be drawing them in as well. And if you're not, then you'll be creating like a vacuum, which will suck the world anyway. So just feeling the Dan Chen, not as this bulbous pot belly, which is how I misinterpreted it when I was young and stupid, but as something that's just drawing in. So the Dan Chen is always funneling in to itself and pressing back into the Min Meng, which is trying to sort of issue out into the world, or at least cover the back of your body. So your back of your body is a bit like a carapace, like a shell, and the front of your body is very much the soft underbelly that's sensitive and receptive. Yeah, so that's getting the bum in, really. So getting the bum in is really just tightening up your act, tightening your Dan Chen. And then we just have to really just make sure that that is melting down the legs. Yeah, because the legs will always try and get off lightly. So here, this is flowing. So that's what that figure of 8 is great for. Yeah, because it just really, it's just encouraging the sacroiliacs to just open up and just send out tentacles. So the figure of 8 is really like 2 looping tentacles, yeah. So when we want to remain with our consciousness, with our incorrectly developed and incorrectly used consciousness, then that requires us to break from the ground. So when you connect to the ground, then all that softens. It's not so sort of self-generated and self-obsessed. Yeah, so our incorrect use of ourselves has just made us hard and sort of crusty, like we've got a crust on us that just needs to break up and then just fall away. And that's where that shaking is important. So just getting yourself, relaxing yourself to that trembling point of equilibrium, just shakes up, just cracks that shell, and it can then just fall away. But it's difficult because the mind has to really stay with it, because you don't have that protection anymore that enables you to be stupid. Okay, so let's just bring it. Yeah, so it all hinges on practice, really. So practice enables you to learn a skill. And then once you've learned the skill, but you continue practicing, then the practice really has to change, because now you don't need the same mind on the work as you did when you were learning it, because when you're learning it, you really have to sort of concentrate and just make sure you're getting it right. So that requires real sort of detailed, conscious attention. But then once you've learned it and you can do it in your sleep, then you practice it much more softly, yeah, almost with a wandering mind, and it develops energy. It then takes you into the realms of energy, which you're never really conscious of, you just participate in. You can tell that you're there, but you can't really tell what's going to happen, yeah, or what is happening. And basically that's what the student of the internal has to fall in love with. There comes a point where they have to prefer to be there than in the world that the ego has constructed. And then, as John would say, progress is assured. And for the, normally, like for the Tibetans, the age was 37. And Dr. Chi used to have a saying, a man of 40 is no longer diverted, no longer distracted. And so that's normally the age. When you get to the middle, and you suddenly realize, fuck, I'm halfway through and I haven't done anything. That's normally when the urgency of just actually really biting the bullet and just doing the work sets in. So practice is a bitter pill, but the more you suck on it, the sweeter it gets. Okay, so let's finish.